Ladies and gentlemen, Season of the Wish is here, so you already know we have to make some build videos, especially around the new artifact perks. Now, obviously, we have new seasonal activities, new weapons to craft, and also some exotic and mod changes that came into the game. But in this video in particular, I want to start off with a classic build that I enjoy using that's really effective with the artifact around the Dawn Chorus Warlock exotic helmet. Let's not waste any time and dive right into it. So this is what the exotic looks like right here. Actually has an ornament based around Osiris. I really like this ornament. Just fits the drip for the build as well. But the main thing is the perk, right? So Rites of Ember. Your Daybreak projectiles deal more damage and scorch targets on impact. Your scorch is improved and you gain a small amount of melee energy when your scorch damages a target. Obviously, we want to take advantage of the bonuses on the new Queen's Foil Sensor artifact. And the main thing is solar, stasis, and strand bonuses on top of rocket launchers and obviously the origin trait specializations, plus a couple other ones that we are going to talk about. But mainly for this build in particular, you're going to want number one, Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply scorch to unscorched combatants. So it could be any solar weapon. As long as you are radiant, any unscorched target will become scorched. Fantastic. Next, Flint Striker. I like this one. So rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows grant radiant. So you don't have to rock Ember of Torches on the subclass to get the melee hit. Granted, the melee hit allows you and teammates to become radiant. This one only allows you to become radiant, so keep that in mind. But all you need to do is get, either rapid precision hits or rapid solar weapon final blows, which is very easy to accomplish. Now next is Torch. So while radiant, deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by strand and stasis debuffs. So if you are with a team and someone's rocking, for example, Banner of War, and someone's affected by Suspend or Sever or Unraveling, any of those ones, your weapons get to do more damage. So automatic W right there. Next up, Heart of Flame. This one is very good this season, no matter what solar super you're using, especially DPS super. Would highly recommend this one. But Heart of Flame. Casting your solar super grants nearby allies radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. So if you're in a raid, for example, and you have, 6 golden guns, just as a theory, 6 Pyrogales, stuff like that, everyone pops their super, everyone's going to have even more super damage. It has to be a solar super, though, that you're using, so keep that in mind. Next up is Revitalizing Blast. Causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. I believe in the past this only weakened champions, but allowing it to weaken bosses as well is fantastic. It's a free weaken buff, and we're going to have our abilities up pretty often with this build in particular. Next up is Raise of Precision. So while you're radiant, solar precision final blows cause combatants to ignite. This is a big one. So it's pretty much free ignition, any solar weapon that you're radiant. It's, I really have no other explanation of it other than it's a free, you could say it's like Firefly or Dragonfly or whatever, but honestly, the ignition is going to go well with what else we have on this build. Now, I personally like Blast Radius, so rapid final blows with rocket launchers and grenade launchers grant an armor charge. And then lastly, Argent Ordnance. So firing a rocket launcher consumes 1 stack of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow the rocket launcher. Now, the reason I'm using this is because I'm going to be using the new seasonal rocket launcher that came with the season, Dragon's Breath. This is a Destiny 1 exotic that got revamped, and it's actually very good now. So, composite repellent, rockets embed themselves in stuck targets and periodically eject incendiary fuel that inflicts scorch. The longer this weapon goes without firing, the more fuel the next rocket contains. Basically, it stacks up to 1 to 5. We have Volatile Launch with Black Powder and then Short Action Stock. Then High Octane. Igniting nearby targets partially replenishes fuel, and then this weapon refuels itself from reserves upon gaining maximum fuel. So pretty much it's a version of auto-loading holster, kinda, but essentially having these free scorch and ignitions from this rocket is fantastic, and it does great weapon damage. Plus, these bonuses with Blast Radius and Argent Ordnance just make sense with that. The last 2 ones I'd recommend looking into is From Whence You Came. So it's just increased ability damage to taken and scorn combatants in general. So I'm just going to have this one on all season long. And then Solo Operative is another one you can look into if you don't want to use Argent Ordnance. But while you are the only member of your fire team, you deal increased damage to all combatants. Next, let's go over what we're using under the Dawn Blade Solar subclass. So obviously, I like Daybreak here because, again, we do get the free bonuses, does increase damage, and can scorch those targets on top of it. Plus, it gains that weaken debuff from Revitalizing Blast, which is pretty nice and can cause ignitions. But for harder activities, I would just recommend using Well of Radiance. For my abilities, I'm rocking the Healing Rift with Burst Glide, Incinerator Snap, but you can use Celestial Fire if you'd like. The only reason I like Incinerator Snap because I know if I'm going to hit a target with all the scorches, it will cause an ignition. And then For the grenade, I'm using the healing grenade. For aspects, the main one you're going to want is Touch of Flame. So it gives a variety of bonuses to your healing, solar, firebolt, and fusion grenades. For the healing grenade, it improves the strength of cure and restoration effects applied. Consuming a healing grenade with heat rises also applies restoration to nearby allies. The main thing is using the healing grenade on yourself, giving you ×2 restoration. That's going to be the main thing with this. And then I personally like heat rises, so I can fire my weapons, melee, and throw grenades while I'm gliding. I can also consume the grenade to gain heat rises and final blows while I'm in the air will increase the duration of heat rises and grant me melee energy. But if you did want to use Icarus Dash, you totally can. And lastly for our fragments, first up I'm using Ember of Ashes. You apply more Scorch stacks to targets, so basically on top of the helmet giving us a bonus to Scorch, this one also allows us to apply more Scorch stacks, which means we can get more ignitions off. Next, I like Ember of Char. Your solar ignition spreads Scorch to affected targets. It is a +10 to discipline, but since we are going to be spreading a lot of Scorch with this build, whether it's with our weapons or our abilities, we're going to cause a lot of ignitions pretty easily. Next up, Ember of Empyrean. This is an important one, so solar weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. It is a -10 to resilience, but once you toss down that healing grenade and get those precision shots, with Flint Striker, gain Radiant Restoration. As long as you continue to get solar kills, you can keep up both of those buffs, which is very nice. And then lastly, I personally just like Ember of Searing, so defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. You can pick up a fire sprite, which will give you grenade energy as well. It is a +10 recovery, but the main thing is getting that melee back since that is going to be our only other ability. And with the helmet, it'll allow us to have it pretty quickly regardless. Next, let's go over what armor mods that I'm using, starting with the helmet. So first up, I'm rocking double hands-on, so gain bonus super energy on melee kills, but you could replace one of these with something like heavy ammo finder, so it increases the drop chance of heavy ammo on a kill. We definitely want to be utilizing that Dragon's Breath as much as possible as well. And then I'm using Harmonic Siphon, which translates into Solar Siphon. Solar Siphon costs 3. Harmonic Siphon matches whatever your subclass element is, so this costing 1 matches the Solar Weapon Final Blows creating orb of power. As you can tell by the flavor text, it's literally the same thing here. So just note, Harmonic Siphon and Harmonic mods, perfect if you need to match your subclass. On the gauntlets here, I'm rocking Impact Induction and Focusing Strike, so when I cause damage with my powered melee attack, it reduces my grenade and my class ability cooldown. And then next up, Heavy Handed. Your power melee final blows create orbs of power. Note, Heavy Handed, Firepower, and the Reaper mod on the class item all kind of got nerfed to where there's going to be a 10-second cooldown between each time you can spawn an orb of power. But with this build in particular, we're going to be using our weapons and our abilities pretty evenly, so I feel like it's okay to rock the heavy-handed mod on this one. On the chest piece, you can honestly rock whatever combination of reserve and resistance mods. You know, I like harmonic reserves, which translates to solar, reserve, so it only costs 2 versus the 3 with solar, so increase the amount you can carry for solar weapons. This is only going to apply to my Dragon's Breath because of what other weapons that I'm using, but again, more rockets is always a good thing. Then I'm rocking arc resistance and void resistance, but like I said, you can rock anything that you like. On my boots here, I'm rocking Harmonic Scavenger, which translates to Solar Scavenger, so my solar weapons get bonus reserves when picking up ammo used by that weapon. Next up, I do like Recuperation, so when I pick up an Orb of Power, it replenishes my health. And then lastly, I like Solar Weapon Surge, so your solar weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Essentially, if you want armor charges, well, you want to collect Orbs of Power or use the artifact perk mod, blast radius and all that great jazz. But the main thing with this is that any of these blue mods put a timer on your armor charges of 10 seconds. Max armor charges you can have base-wise is 3, so that means we can have 30 seconds of this bonus solar weapon damage. And then lastly on my class item, I'm rocking Double Bomber, so it reduces my grenade cooldown when I use my class ability. If I need that healing grenade, I can use the healing rift, and you could say it's like kind of a crutch, but it's more of a just-in-case thing. And then lastly, I like Time Dilation, so your decaying armor charge has a longer duration, so the 10 seconds that I mentioned gets bumped up to 15 seconds, so now we can have 45 seconds of bonus weapon damage at 3 armor charges. For stats to focus on, we talk about it every single video. Try to have tier 10 or 100 resilience. It's a 30% damage reduction in PvE. This is going to be good for all activities across the board. You want to be able to survive. Now, the next one I would focus on is Discipline. Again, Discipline is tied to your grenade stat and how fast we can get that back. And then also Strength. Yes, we will be able to get the melee back fairly quickly with everything that we have going on, but the more we can have it, the more we can utilize Scorch, Ignitions, all the other stuff, since we can't really use the grenade for it. The grenade is specifically for the healing aspects, whether it's for yourself or your teammates. So for your weapon options, I'm going to talk about what I use for this build in particular, and then some other options that you can look into substituting. For my primary weapon, I'm going to be using the Swordbreaker. This just happens to be the Adept version. Got it crafted. Thing is fantastic. Slide shot, 1-2 punch, assault mag, rifle barrel. The main thing with 1-2 punch is that I could shoot the target using Incinerator Snap and have that do the increased damage from 1-2 punch. So hitting a target with nearly every pellet in the shot increases melee damage for a short duration. But then also, since this is a melee-centric-ish build, because we are going to get it back pretty quickly, is Curse Thrall. So after defeating a target with a melee attack, final blows with the weapon cause targets to explode for a short duration. In the energy slot, I'm also using another Crotazen weapon, the Abyss Defiant. This is crafted as well. So I have small bore with the pendant mag, enhanced reconstruction, so the weapon will reload itself over time to up to double capacity, which is nice. Then also enhanced incandescent, so defeating a target spreads a longer lasting scorch to those nearby. More powerful combatants and opposing guardians cause scorch in a larger radius. On top of that, it also comes with the Cursed Thrall trait. So once I get a melee kill and then get this weapon rolling, not only am I going to be spreading scorch and when enough scorch attacks happen, ignitions, but also I can have the Cursed Thrall explosions as well. For some substitutes in the primary slot, again, you can use a different 1-2 punch shotgun. Again, I have the still awareness with chill clip, so if I want to use a fusion rifle to add that debuff to take advantage of torch, so when I'm radiant, I can deal more weapon damage to strand and stasis debuffs. That's totally fine. Conditional finality is actually really good for this as well, not only for freezing the target, but also the ignition it can cause as well, because the ignition stacks with Ember of Char, so the ignition will spread scorch around as well. So that's also a good substitute right there. In the energy slot, honestly, any weapon that can come with incandescent is going to be your friend. You know, if you have Callus Mini Tool crafted, this is a great option as well. If you have the Epichal integration, this can come with incandescent plus hand cannons. We do have unstopped hand cannons this season, so you can use this. And if you have Sunshot, Sunshot's a great option as well. With Sunshot by itself, it technically does not cause scorch and ignitions, but with the bonuses to this, again, Kindling Trigger, as long as you're radiant, it can technically deal scorch damage, and also when you get precision final blows, not only will they blow up, the ignition will happen as well. So there are some bonuses you can use with Sunshot. Under your heavy weapon, again, any solar heavy is going to be totally fine. Like I have this crafted Apex Predator, you know, recon bait and switch. It's solar. I can gain bonuses from the artifact and solar weapon surge, all that great jazz. I could totally use that, but honestly, any solar heavy would work here, technically speaking. Now, if you got through all that and you're still a little confused about how this build works, let me break it down for you. But essentially, as long as you are using your weapons and your abilities, you're going to have really good health regen. You're going to be radiant all the time, and you're going to scorch and ignite pretty much everything. Now, let's say we're about to hop into engagement. What do we want to do? The first thing that I would recommend doing is tossing the healing grenade at your feet. So now you have restoration ×2 right there. And then the next thing you have to do is just get either solar ability kills with the Incinerator Snap or solar weapon kills, whether it's with Abyss Defiant or the Dragon's Breath. Now with the artifact, with Flint Striker, as long as you get either rapid precision hits with a solar weapon or rapid final blows, you're gonna gain radiant as well. And with Ember of Empyrean on the subclass, as long as you continue to get those kills like I mentioned, you can keep restoration up to a maximum of 12 seconds. Same thing with radiant there as well. Then once you're radiant with Kindling Trigger, your solar weapons apply scorch to any unscorched combatants. With Torch, you deal increased weapon damage to any other targets that are affected by strand or stasis debuffs. And then with Razor Precision, as long as you get solar precision final blows while you're radiant, you will cause ignitions. And note, with Ember of Char, your solar ignition spreads scorch around. With Ember of Ashes, you apply more scorch stacks, which means you can basically cause more ignitions. And then with Ember of Searing, when you defeat a scorched target, it will give you melee energy and create a fire sprite, and then you can also pick up the fire sprite to gain that grenade back faster. Most of our other armor mods are just small bonuses to ability regeneration, more ammo, you know, faster super and stuff like that. The main thing here is Solar Siphon and Heavy Handed to create orbs of power to gain armor charges so we can get Solar Weapon Surge. Once we have max charges, that's 45 seconds of that bonus weapon damage. Plus, with Blast Radius, with Dragon's Breath in particular, it's really good for either just single target DPS or taking out a bunch of ads very easily. So if we get rapid final blows with it, we gain an armor charge from that automatically. And this is kind of where you can get into boss DPS stuff, right? So with Argent Ordnance, as long as we have an armor charge, launching a rocket at a target will consume one stack, but it'll allow you to do increased damage. With Heart of Flame, if we cast our Solar Super near our allies, not only do they become radiant, but we get increased damage for the super for each nearby ally. Plus, with Daybreak in and of itself, it's kind of crazy too, because technically the super counts as a solar ability, so it procs Revitalizing Blast, which will weaken champions and bosses, allowing you to do more damage, plus Daybreak stacks and a stack Scorch, which can cause ignitions on target, so you can have Daybreak be a solid DPS super on a target. You kind of have two gameplay loops of this. So you have the ad control aspect, which will allow you to have restoration and radiant a lot. It'll allow you to spread a lot of scorch and ignition to targets, have very high ability regen. And then the boss DPS portion, which allows you to have very high damage with your rocket launcher causing a lot of scorch and ignitions. Plus, you can use your abilities to weaken the target and have a good DPS super on that target, continuing to weaken and scorch and ignite a boss. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Season of the Wish Dawn Chorus build. I've always really enjoyed this exotic, and it's always fun to bring back out whenever we have really good artifact perks in regards to the Solar subclass. If you want to test this build out for yourself and copy everything that I'm using down to the subclass, the armor mods, and the weapons if you have them, again, that dim link will be in the description. And test out for yourself and let me know what you think. If there's something that you like using under the subclass or the armor mods or a certain weapon that you would like to substitute in for this build, definitely let me know in the comments. There's a million ways to build craft in this game. There's no end-all be-all except for a couple of endgame builds, in all honesty. So if there's something that you like using, definitely let me know in the comments. In any event, if what you saw was valuable or entertaining to you, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn the bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on any other Destiny 2 builds here we're going to be creating on the channel. If you didn't know, we live stream here on YouTube and then also on Twitch. That link will be in the description. If we're going to be playing one game such as Destiny 2, we'll be here on YouTube. If we're going to be doing more variety, we will be over on Twitch. But in regards to D2, the new dungeon is going to be coming out very soon. I will be doing carries for the dungeon. So if you would like a dungeon carry, you know, hop in the chat, say, hey, Dave, I need your help. Fantastic. We can definitely do that for you. And if you want to be proactive, join my Discord. Again, that link will be in the description as well. People are looking to play Destiny 2. So if you want help with anything, whether it's PvE, PvP, you know, potentially trials, even Grandmaster Nightfalls when they come out as well for the season, you know, hop in the Discord. But we have people talking about other games in there as well, on top of PC tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you want to support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. If you don't know what a membership is, it is essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, you're going to get access to the exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and other cool stuff here on the channel, which technically it's cheaper than what a Twitch subscription is, hilariously enough. So if you would like more information, all you have to do is press the join button next subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.